Hey, friends, and welcome to the Living Life with Wendy podcast, where we connect as entrepreneurs, as women in business, as professionals, and as humans who are just interested in personal development and living our best lives. I'm Wendy Easton Bowman, your host, coach, and cheerleader. So buckle up, friends, because you're in for some learning and motivation. Let's get started living our lives and leaning into our joy. Welcome to the Living Life with Wendy podcast. And today my guest is Anne Swanson, who is the author of the internationally best-selling book, Science of Yoga, which has been translated into over 15 languages. Now she has a new book, Meditation for the Real World, which illuminates the fascinating science behind meditation with step-by-step practices to help you find peace in everyday life. She's worked alongside Harvard neuroscientist, Dr. Sarah Lazar, and an illustrator from the New York Times to create this science-backed visual guide. Okay, but here's the thing. Anne wasn't a naturally chill person, and meditation didn't come easy for her. Overcoming her own chronic pain and anxiety led her to India to study yoga and meditation, and to China to explore Tai Chi and to earn a Master's of Science graduate degree in yoga therapy. Now, how cool is that? So here's the thing. Now, Anne blends cutting edge research with ancient wisdom, resulting in realistic techniques you won't just learn, you'll love to live by. So order her new book at meditationfortherealworld.com for exclusive bonuses available to all listeners. You heard that right. Exclusive bonuses available to all listeners. Anne, have you always lived in Hawaii?
Just for 3 years.
Okay, so where did you live originally?
I was originally from Virginia.
Okay, and what sort of like got you to move to Hawaii? What was the purpose of the move?
I mean, I just came here on vacation and I haven't left. So a lot of people actually have that story.
I bet. I mean, when you're in paradise, why leave paradise?
Yeah,
Right?
I kept having something to do next Wednesday. I kept meeting people and having fun things to do. And I just stuck around and I'm so grateful I did.
I love it. Okay. Well, I'd love to dive into the podcast today with you. And welcome, Anne, to the Living Life with Wendy podcast, where we lift each other up as women, where we help each other as women entrepreneurs and professionals. And today, what a fantastic subject, because I was sharing with you before we jumped on how excited I am to talk about meditation, because I would say like 80% of the clientele that I coach one-on-one, that's an area that, I mean, they're on the struggle bus. I mean, no word of a lie. Like they know it's important. They feel like they know why meditation is important. And we'll talk about that during today's podcast, but they really have a hard time establishing a practice. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, let's start with the why, right? Why is meditation such an amazing practice to introduce into your everyday life as anybody who is like really wanting to move their life forward?
Yes, absolutely. So I teach from the scientific perspective of things. And by now, the science behind meditation has trickled down to the public. Like we know it's as good for you as eating healthy, sleeping well. We know that meditation is very good for you. Many doctors recommend it. But like many people, as you say, it's still hard to stick with eating healthy, sleeping well, and doing the things we need to do, like meditation. But I am here to emphasize the profound benefits because it'll convince you to practice. The changes in your brain are significant. As we get older, our brain tissue starts to degrade. It actually gets smaller. We look at my brain and my late 30s versus my grandpa, who's 99 right now. We look at his brain, it would be a lot smaller. Our brains get smaller as we get older, and especially in critical areas, like in the front of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, where you're constantly focusing, planning, evaluating. That part of your brain is critical for being an entrepreneur, for being a busy person getting through the day. And it becomes more challenging as we get older because it degrades. But meditation rebuilds your brain tissue. It makes it thicker, especially in those critical areas. And so it is an anecdote in a lot of ways to the natural degradation of the brain as we age. It, in essence, helps your brain stay and act younger. So
Wow.
that's really profound. It
That
also affects us.
That's like no word of a lie, mind blowing. And I don't mean to be like, make light of it, but knowing that meditation actually, could it reverse some of the things that happen to our brain as we age? And if it does, what does it help with?
It can. And it also reverses the tissue of the brain will start to degrade in critical areas when we have anxiety, PTSD, depression, chronic pain. And those are the same areas that meditation rebuilds the connectivity. So it can reverse some of the negative effects that we've had. And through neuroplasticity, through these new neural networks and activities, new engraved pathways in your brain, the tissue actually gets thicker. And it's just like working out, right? We go to the gym and we see that effect to our muscles after we do those reps. Same with meditation. You do your reps, you keep coming back to it, you practice, and the tissue will build over time. But there are immediate effects too. So there's these long-term effects, but immediately when you meditate, like we're talking in the moment while you're meditating, and then minutes after, hours after, within the few days after, we have changes. So immediately your brainwave activity changes. It goes from that like constantly thinking, sort of evaluating, conversing, what we're doing right now, to relaxed brainwaves, alpha brainwaves. And it even puts us into brainwaves that are typically only seen in children, theta brainwaves. Like we see them really commonly in children, like that creative state that they're in. And then also typically only seen in sleep. So we can, through some deep meditation practices, go into delta brain waves, and that helps us rejuvenate as if we're sleeping. And that's something we found out recently. We also have changes in the chemicals in our brain. We release endorphins immediately, just like that runner's high, but you get it from meditation.
Okay.
We have these immediate effects too.
Okay. So I bet you, I would imagine that my listeners are going, but wait a minute, especially those that run, right? Like how does quieting, I know that like runners, I'm a cyclist, so you get kind of like in a zone. Is that sort of what you're talking about? The zone?
Yeah. Psychologists call that the flow state, right? That's what it's usually called in research. And meditation is a type of flow state. Of course, there's a variety of flow states. So you've experienced it when you're running, when you're playing a sport that you're really into, when you're creating art or music, that in the zone, completely immersed in what you're doing. And with practice, you get into that through meditation. And meditation is like boot camp for your focus. So I don't hear that excuse, I can't focus, my mind wanders too much, so I shouldn't meditate. That's more reason to meditate, right? It's boot camp for your focus so that you're going to be able to get into that flow state more often through your day, more often in your sports or whatever creative act you're doing.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. And I think what I hear most commonly with my clients is like, it's really hard to quiet themselves in meditation. So they sort of give up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm not preaching to the choir here. I'm sure people that are listening are going, oh yeah, I know exactly what Wendy's talking about. It's like, the first thing I hear is I cannot meditate for 5 minutes. That's what commonly I hear, or at least I encourage my clients to start short. But what would you recommend? Because I think that's what scares people, right? They think, well, I'm not getting quiet right away. So like I'm failing, I'm giving up, poo, I'm out.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend for someone who really struggles with that?
First of all, the common misconception is that meditation is stopping your thoughts. It is quieting your mind, but it's not. Even the most advanced meditators, their minds wander. So meditation is a process. And I speak of this in my new book, Meditation for the Real World. I have a graph that shows the process also from a scientific perspective. So what you do is you have a focal point. Whatever your teacher gives you, your breath, a mantra or word you're repeating, whatever the focal point is that you're given. So you're focusing on it for a moment. Everybody thinks that's the meditation, and I can't sustain that, so I'm bad at it.
Yeah.
But the next stage in everybody's meditation, this is part of it. The next stage is your mind wanders. Spontaneous thought occurs. You think about the future, the past. It's human nature. We mind wander 47% of our waking hours, according to Harvard research. It is human nature. So the next step is your mind will wander. Then the next step is your brain is going to pick up this network activity that determines, is that mind wandering important? Am I thinking about something really important right now? So if the fire alarm's going off and you're wondering what's going on, that is important. So you're going to get out of the house, right?
Absolutely.
But if it's just about what you're going to eat later, or why did I say that thing yesterday, that's not important right now, because that's not the task at hand. So then your mind's going to determine, nope, not important, and come back. That act of catching yourself, number one, and then determining that it's not important, that's meditation. It's the whole process. So your brain gets better at catching yourself. A lot of times we're in conversations during the day, we don't even know we're in it, and we believe our thoughts. So you stop believing your thoughts. You stop identifying with your thoughts. You're able to catch yourself when you're not focused quicker and get back on track. And it becomes automatic. So you're training these brain networks. It's like doing your reps at the gym. And practice doesn't make perfect. Even once you've meditated for years and years and years, even the most advanced monks of the Dalai Lama, their mind wanders at some point. You just keep coming back and you follow that process. Practice makes presence. You become more present more often. It doesn't make perfect.
Okay. Well, and that's important. So why do people give up so quickly on meditation specifically?
Yeah, I think the flow state you're describing of like running or playing tennis or something like that, that's really fun, right? But getting into that flow state of just sitting there alone with your thoughts, maybe you're staring at a wall. That's not that much fun. So I like to make meditation more fun by integrating things that may interest you more based off of the science of what's going to help you. So for example, if you love taking walks in nature, you love, going on a walk on the beach or in the woods nearby, that's where you integrate your meditation. We know that going in nature is so good for your health. There's even aerosols in the air that increase something called a natural killer cell in your bloodstream, which helps you to kill cancers and tumors and all sorts of things. So just by smelling the air. So next time you're in nature, you amplify that presence. You enjoy it. You're there. Now sit down on a bench and meditate. Do a walking meditation. Now, if you enjoy, your sport and you really want to get in better flow before your sport, I recommend and have some like 1-minute meditations in my book, Meditation for the Real World. So these are like real world things you can do right before you go onto the tennis court. Integrating it into your pre-warm up, that can be your meditation. Nobody needs to know you're doing this meditation when you're doing it. You could do it in public. And it doesn't have to be just sitting perfectly still, staring at a wall on a meditation cushion. Meditation can be, as it is on the cover of the book, somebody sitting in a subway, on a train, and everybody around them is hunched over, scrolling their phones. She's the only one sitting tall and just present. She has her eyes open. You don't have to open your eyes. You can have your eyes open when you meditate. And that's what I really want to emphasize, is that it doesn't have to be this, monk in a monastery sort of vibe. You don't have to go to a retreat for 10 days. Not all of us have the luxury of dropping everything and van lifing it into the mountains.
Yeah.
You can do this and integrate it into your current day. There's meditations for while you're in traffic and you're feeling stressed.
That's, and it's amazing because I think that's where people get stuck, because they have a one lane idea of what meditation is. So I love that you just shared that it doesn't have to be like, I would say what we traditionally, air quotes, right, believe meditation being, like you said, sitting comfortably with your legs crossed and all relaxed and sort of like just kind of mantraing it all out, right? But what I love that you said is like it can be anywhere. And it's not just preparing for sport, but I could imagine that it would help like for people preparing for meetings or proposals or anything. So that is, again, mind blowing. I think my mind's going to be blown a lot today, to be quite honest. So can you give us an example? Like you mentioned the picture on the book, right? So you can meditate even on public transportation, but say you're going for a walk, right? Mm-hmm. And you're with your dog and you see I always love fallen trunks because I love sitting on like natural stuff, but say you see a bench, right? How do you kind of get into that meditation? Because of course there's going to be other stuff going on. So tell me, how would you, or what would you recommend for my listeners to do if they were in that situation?
Well, I love that you love a trunk of a tree that's, fallen trunk more than a bench, because I would recommend, we want to emphasize the science-backed benefits from other aspects, and we know not only is nature beneficial for us, but listen to this, touching nature. It causes something called grounding, or scientists call it earthing, and it lowers inflammation. It lowers your blood glucose levels, like literally just being barefoot. So if ideal situation, I would sit on that trunk of a tree. I would have like maybe even my hands touching it. I would even take my shoes off and put my feet on the physical ground so that I can get the benefits of grounding. Have your dog leash tied to the branch nearby, and the dog will pick up on the cues and will start to chill with you too. They could even hop in your lap. Yeah. And that's going to have more benefits for you, because when we are connecting with an animal, we release oxytocin. So it's just amplifying the benefits that we already love from meditation, these feel-good chemicals that are being released. So then I would have my eyes open and I would look and take in the surroundings, the trees moving in the wind, the light changing. And I would focus on my five senses. So I'd start with the what I see. And then I'd notice, what do I hear? And then I'd physically touch the texture below me. I'd see, what do we feel right now? Take a deep breath, smell those aerosols in the air, know that you're improving your immune system function by taking deeper breaths of nature air, and even taste the taste in your mouth right this moment. That's what I would do. And just do that for a minute, 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. You're going to be getting benefits from integrating nature.
And I think that's important. That's an important part of what you just said is, I think, don't get hung up on the time, get hung up or get addicted to the presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you practice it, I think it's actually even better to do a bunch of 1-minute meditations through the day, or breathing breaks, 3 deep breaths. It's better to do that through the day, because that's like a little moment where you reset your nervous system, and now you're able to be mindful. Everybody's just like, oh, be mindful all the time. That's the solution. But that's easier said than done. We need these like actual dedicated meditation practices to get us to be more mindful, to be more in that flow state, to be more present during our everyday activities. So you'll notice, oh, wow, now I'm just more present during my walk through the woods. I'm not scrolling my phone or thinking about what I have to do later. I'm really enjoying the way the sun is shining through the branches. And so it's a way to get you to be more mindful. I'm just kind of sick of just be mindful all the time, as if that's easy. Like these 1-minute check-ins, these powerful pauses, they can help you retrain your brain more efficiently. And we're doing this in the exercise world too. This is what research is revealing, is that little exercise snacks, movement snacks through the day, maybe even better than like a whole hour of exercise when it's spread out through the day. It's going to be better for your blood sugar regulation. It's going to have more effects. And that's what I want you to feel. I want you to feel those immediate effects, not struggle through it. And once you get better at making those 1-minute meditations count, you can do longer ones. But I would start small and integrate them into your day.
Very interesting point of I like you called them snacks, right? And so it's not like a one and done sort of thing. It is, and you're right, with exercise, it is better to sort of spread it out throughout the day, whether you're walking or, doing stairs or being really intentional when you go to the gym. But I love that. And I think that people don't realize that you can do meditation throughout your day. I find that works best for me, actually. As much as I struggle with meditation, I feel like whenever I feel anxious or if I'm feeling just not focused, quite often before a coaching session, I will do a very quick meditation just to sort of quiet myself. I really like focus on my breathing because I feel my breath work really kind of brings my energy down because I tend to be a little high energy, and it helps me listen better. So is that science?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the science of building a habit, is that we want to find cues throughout our day. So whether it's, every morning before I have my first sip of coffee or tea, I'm going to do my meditation practice. You integrate it into something you already have a strong habit of. Or there's a cue of every time I notice I'm anxious, I do this. Every time before I go on a coaching call, or you name the type of meeting that you have to do, every time before you press accept on that Zoom meeting, that's when you do a 1-minute meditation. That's when you take a powerful pause and check in. You're going to perform better. You're going to see immediate results. That's the misconception. We think, oh, meditation has to be long-term results. I think you can get immediate results if you place the meditation at a time where you need it most, when you're about to yell at your kids and you blow your fuse. That's the best time to do a 1 breath meditation, right?
Right.
See if you can chill out by elongating your exhale to be twice as long as your inhale. Do that right now as you're listening. Just make the exhale twice as long. It could be 2 counts inhale, 4 counts exhale, 3 and 6, 4 and 8, whatever's comfortable for you. That 1 breath or more, that's going to help you reset. So if you could do that before you do the thing that you might regret, you're going to get a greater benefit. You're going to be more likely to practice.
So good on our parents who used to tell us, take a deep breath. Except they added, calm down and take a deep breath. But it is really, it does go together, right?
It naturally goes together, but telling somebody to calm down, telling somebody to relax, telling someone to just be mindful, it doesn't work.
No.
We need the techniques to do it. And that's what I really tried to do with this book, is techniques for different circumstances. So I'm a yoga therapist. I have a master's of science in yoga therapy, which means that I look at the individual, I look at their health circumstances, their life situation, and I adapt the practice specifically for them. And I do the same with meditations. And for myself, like, I don't do the same exact meditation when I'm about to pass out of the doctor's office compared to when I want to focus right before I go into a creative activity and I want to get into that flow state easier. It's a different meditation technique. And I think everybody's gotten so stuck on mindfulness. Just be aware of your breath, just be aware of your body, which are great techniques, I don't deny. But that's not the technique for every situation. If you're trying to be aware of your breath and your body in a panic situation, like right before passing out of the doctor's office, you're going to pass out quicker. That's what happens to me. That increases anxiety. So if you've ever had a meditation technique make you feel worse, it's not that you're bad at meditating. It's not that meditation is not right for you. It's just you're doing the wrong technique for the wrong situation. So I would never focus on my body awareness when I'm about to pass out or I'm feeling super anxious, because then you start to feel your heart pounding and you start to taste the metal in your mouth and you start to freak out because your body is betraying you. And you're going to pass out, or you're going to have the panic attack quicker. So what they found in the research, and what I found for myself, is that during that situation, I want to do like a visualization meditation. I want to imagine I'm in a safe place. Everybody's safe place is different. Maybe you're with your pet at home. For me, I'm at the beach and I curl my toes in the sand and I imagine I'm at the safe place. That's my focal point for my meditation rather than body awareness. So I'm really big on adapting it for the situation and for the person.
And your book helps the reader identify, right, the type of meditation to sort of partner with how we're feeling. And I think that's important, because you made such a great point, Anne, is like, if we focus on the wrong thing in a situation that doesn't really align with the meditation practice that's going to help us, you said it can make us worse.
Yeah, it could make you worse. I mean, that's pretty rare, but if you've ever, I've had that experience and felt like, oh, meditation isn't for me. I just want to normalize it because that's how I used to feel. I was like,
Mm.
wow, this made it worse. How could this be? And it was just the wrong type of meditation for the wrong situation.
All right. So, listeners, if you heard that, Anne's book will help you with that and identify how to match that up.
Yes.
So, if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like it's more difficult than it needs to be, that we have tools, right? We have authors who've, like yourself, have done the work for us to figure it out. So let's make it easier for ourselves.
And then to your listeners, if you go to meditationfortherealworld.com, there's all the links to buy the book, but also I'm giving you audio meditations that incorporate really beautiful sounds that are engineered to optimize your brainwaves. So if you're a music person, you're a sound person, a nerd like that, that might help you enjoy it more because just like the nature example we gave, you're going to be feeling more immediate benefits because we're going into that relaxed brainwave or the creativity brainwave with the help of these, as they call it in the research, digital drugs. The sounds can be that powerful. Yes,
right.
Sounds specifically engineered to change your brainwaves can be that powerful. So I love giving people other resources to help like spark that interest and keep them sticking with the practice. So and meditationfortherealworld.com, that's my gift to your listeners.
Oh, I love that because I mentioned in your intro that they can use the link and there's some special things for them there. So I appreciate you for that. Also wanted to talk to you about, so you talked about using sounds. Oops, sorry, I hit my microphone. You talked about hitting sounds that helps optimize your meditation practice. But I also want to ask you because I read in your bio that you actually use meditation to manifest as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So you would think, there's so much on like Instagram and social media of all these manifestation, meditation gurus right now. And I don't know, some of it kind of makes me roll my eyes, but when you really look at it, it's got science to support it. And so it makes sense that when we focus on setting a goal for our finances or for our business, then we're more likely to achieve it, right? We start to look for things to align with it when we have a clear set goal. So with manifestation, you choose a clear goal and you focus on how you want to feel and like getting to that goal. And meditation helps you practice the feeling. And we know this with neuroplasticity. If you can recarve those neural pathways, you're going to go to that feeling more often. So say you want to feel, successful and wealthy, or you want to feel creative, whatever it is, during your meditation practice, you practice that feeling as if you already reached that goal of the New York Times bestselling book or of having children or whatever the goal may be. And so I used manifestation meditation to get my first book contract, which was my book, Science of Yoga, which has gone on to be translated into 15 languages.
15.
Yes, but
amazing.
I have not dreamt at that point. I had not dreamt of writing a book yet. It wasn't that I wanted to write a book. I set my goal of I want a big project that brings together all of the things I've been learning in the last decade, from traveling to India, from studying yoga, from all these different perspectives. And I wanted a project. And so I was inviting in a project. And I randomly got an email from the largest publisher in the world, Penguin Random House, offering me a book contract. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a following, nothing. And I truly believe that me focusing on what I wanted to invite into my life, and just really, despite the fact I was literally getting rejected for over 100 jobs at that point. So despite it being a very challenging time for me financially and in my career, I believed a big project was coming my way, and rejection is protection. If I had gotten one of those jobs teaching a yoga course at a university or whatever project, I would not have had time to take on the Science of Yoga project. So I definitely find that meditation can help me bring in to my life my dreams and get me in the right mindset to do the work necessary for it, right?
Right. And I know that you're very into the science, right? Into the science of meditation, into the science of yoga. What's the science of manifestation then?
Just as I was saying, like when we set a goal, then your brain is going to kind of weed out the things that are not relevant to that goal. We have a reticular activating system on our brain, and it determines like what is important and what's not important. So, when you're driving somewhere and you're taking in, everything and it's somewhere new and like you realize the signs have changed or it's just different, you're really aware. But say you do the same drive every single day, you forgot the whole drive. You're like, how did I get here? I don't even remember driving here. My mind was wandering the whole time. But if they change the speed from 85 to 75, then you're going to notice that new thing. So your reticular activating system is helping you notice changes and new things. It's actually part of like when we dream, we're kind of processing all of those things. So when you set a goal and you start to focus on how it feels and you start to do meditations or journaling involved in that, then you're going to start looking for those opportunities that are in alignment. You're going to stop hanging out with people that aren't in alignment or going to and taking opportunities that just don't feel right to you anymore. You're going to listen deeper to your body, your intuition, which is also a skill that meditation gives us too, is the ability to listen to our body's signals and wisdom, that intuition that's always there.
Okay, I love that. There's some signs there. And I do agree with you. When you focus on one thing, it really starts to show up in your life because that's the way the brain works, right? It's you put in something in your mind. Like I think there's been some scientific tests where, you say red Corvette in a room and then like you launch people out into nature and all of a sudden into the world outside of that controlled environment. And all of a sudden they start seeing red convertibles or Corvettes where they were probably there all along, but the brain's awareness shifts with that, with introducing that.
Unfortunately, if you have a negative attitude and you say, everybody's rejecting me, you're just going to see all the rejections. If you say, if you are like, oh, it never works out for me, or people aren't inviting me to things, you're just going to see things that emphasize that compared to like, I'm getting invited to the perfect fit opportunities for me. You're going to see things in that way. So you want to, work on having that that attitude, and it's really an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. And I think you said something very important because I actually had a client today, and it's like what we tell ourselves is really what comes true in our lives, right? And in our meditation, that's where it can be really, really a useful amount of useful time spent in really talking to ourselves and bringing into our lives and our thoughts what we really want. So if we believe that we're a perfectionist, which I don't think perfection really exists in the world, but if we tell ourselves that, it's going to stop us from taking action, right? Because we don't want to fail. That's that fear of failure. Or if we tell ourselves that we're not ready to do something, especially women, because women are really bad at this. We hold ourselves back until we feel we're really ready for things. And so if we keep telling ourselves that stuff, we're going to stop ourselves from doing the things that we really, really want or dream of, like writing a book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And meditation isn't stopping your thoughts, it's noticing your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to notice, oh, wow, I'm thinking a lot of negative self-talk right now, which by the way is natural. We have a negativity bias for a reason. It's to keep us safe. So you're not alone, but you're like noticing I'm thinking of a lot of negative thoughts right now. And you just keep coming back to your focal point. And so when you start to notice your thought patterns, they will shift. Like you can do an affirmation meditation, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Just by noticing, oh, wow, I was thinking of a lot of negative things, coming back to the focal point, you're going to feel more relaxed coming back to that focal point because it's neutral.
Yeah,
The focal point could be the sensations in your hands. And that's something, feel the sensations in your hands right now, everyone, wherever you are.
I'm doing
You're
this.
touching something.
As
Yeah.
soon as you said that, I
wiggling.
wiggled my fingers.
Yeah. If you're holding something, holding a steering wheel, it doesn't matter. Feel them. We have so many sensory nerve endings in our hands. And those sensations, those vibrations, those pulsations, they're always there. That aliveness in your hands is always there. Now feel your left hand. Feel it fully. Feel your right hand. Feel your left hand. Feel your right hand. Feel your left hand. Feel your right hand. Left, right, left, right. And both hands simultaneously, feeling both hands at the same time. And then let go of that awareness for a moment and notice the effects. What we did was we just encouraged neural activity in one side of the brain and then the other, and back and forth and back and forth. And this can change the way you think and feel. This could, spark some creativity, perhaps.
And it also focuses you too into that action. Yeah.
Meditation is boot camp for your focus. So you can use these little mini meditation techniques to come back into focus when you notice, you're kind of scattered in your busy day.
Love it. Love it. And I know we've talked about meditation, and I know before we jumped on, I really wanted to talk about how yoga and meditation sort of together can really help us with focus and mindset. And also for people who are getting into that next season in life, like myself, how that can help us sort of create a longer time that we're doing the things that we love, because we don't have to be pushing ourselves physically. Like, I know lifting weights is also important, but how does yoga because I do think they work together, but how does yoga and meditation help us as we get into that later season in our lives to really feel our best?
When I wrote Science of Yoga, I incorporated things in there about meditation and breathing practices, but everybody just focuses on the physical poses because there's a lot of, beautiful images of the physical poses. And I think a lot of us come to yoga because of the physical poses. But yoga is an 8-limb process that incorporates different components. And depending how you count it, 3 or 4 of those limbs are meditation. The physical poses are only 1/8 of meditation, even though in the West, that's really what we focus on. So the point of the physical poses is to prepare you for meditation, which is the highest level, to be able to focus, to be able to develop compassion and connection through meditation. And so yoga is this very accessible, adaptable practice that you can do even, at any age. You can do it in a chair, you can do it on the floor, and it's going to prepare your mind to be able to focus better in life and in meditation. And it's also going to help you with your other activities that you do, whether it's just activities of daily living, being able to have that mobility and strength and balance for those activities you do through the day, but also balancing out, like you said, weightlifting, which we know is so important as we age, especially as women.
Yeah, I love that. And I did want to make sure that we touched on your other book as well, because I do think that if anyone's going to buy a book, like buy them both, first of all, because it is mind body connection. And I think that's super important. And I know with yoga, if people don't do yoga already, there's so much breath control and breath relaxation. Like, you don't want to be holding in stress in yoga. And I could see where that would tie into meditation and discipline of mind and all of those things that help us sort of be present in our practices. So I love that you did both books. That's what I'm trying to say, is I just feel like they should be like kissing cousins and should be purchased together. So I love that, Anne. And I love that you shared that, the things that we believe about meditation, the things that we tell ourselves, like, I can't get good at it, like those mindset mantras that we hold ourselves back from doing. I think you shared so much valuable information to inspire people to try it again, right? Don't give up on it.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Try it again. Integrate it into your life. Don't be so hard on yourself when your mind wanders, because that's part of meditation. Actually, don't be hard on yourself at all. Look at it as an opportunity to come back to the present moment. It's like those times that we go for our workout or whatever your sport is, and you don't feel like going. Those are the times you want to be the most proud of going and still sticking with it, right? You still went on that run. You still did the thing.
Yeah.
That's the time where you're like, wow, I did that. Compared to the time you just wake up, you're like, yes, let's go. I'm able to do this. Some days I feel like that with meditation too. My mind is just like focused. I'm like, wow, I just did it. But a lot of times, it can be like, wow, my mind's all over the place. And this is me taking the opportunity to put these true reps in. And I should be more proud of myself when my mind wanders, because I'm training my brain like hard.
Yeah. And I know I did it in your intro, but I mentioned this in your intro that like you didn't just fall into meditation. This was not natural for you. Like it was intentional. So just remind my audience because, sometimes when they hear a guest come on, they go, oh, yeah, well, it's easy for you. Like this is the thing. You
Yeah.
probably grew up like your parents meditated. You know what I mean? Like they don't really understand that like it doesn't always just come naturally. It takes effort. So tell the audience a little bit about your story and how you came to yoga and meditation.
I was not a naturally like calm, chill person. I was even as a little kid and baby, I was very anxious, and that's how I in a way identified for so long, because I felt social anxiety. I had sleep disorders that led to me sleepwalking, waking up screaming in other locations. Like I had a lot of anxiety, and I also had severe chronic pain that some days would leave me bedridden, starting from when I was a teenager. So I came to these practices for my own healing, and I traveled the world and studied them from many different perspectives, because I needed to hear from all those perspectives to like get the most out of it. And now at this point, I get told I'm pretty chill. um, and I don't identify as being an anxious person anymore. I pretty rarely have chronic pain. That's really well managed. And my sleep, I get like near 100% score on my sleep every night. And so things have really changed for me through meditating and through doing mind body practices like yoga, Tai Chi, and just being more mindful during my everyday activities. But it takes that practice, and practice doesn't
Mm,
make perfect. Practice
exactly.
makes you
Practice.
present.
Yes, practice makes you present. You mentioned that earlier, and I love that saying. So you mentioned sleep. And before I let you go, because I coach a lot of people, well, a lot of women going through menopause. And I'm going to tell you, like when you go through menopause, well, even post menopause, because now that's where I'm at, but your sleep is a wreck. So
Mm-hmm.
what would you advise, right? How can
Yeah.
meditation help us like get back on track with sleep? Because I know my listeners who are in that season of life, they are like
Mhm.
dying to get a solution. They've tried so many things.
Yes, and whether it's hormones in general, menopause, perimenopause, pregnancy makes sleep so difficult for us. And I have this meditation technique that I came up with for my clients, and then I use it for myself all the time. And you can actually memorize it. It's in the book, and it's also as an audio meditation when you go to meditationfortherealworld.com. It's in one of the ones included. It's called the down meditation. So I'll give you a little summary right now, because you memorize it. You don't go to the audio at night. You do it during the day so that you can memorize it. And then at night, you're just going to remember whatever you remember from it. Not the whole thing, just whatever works for you and you remember. All you have to remember is the word down. So
Okay.
here's all the cues, whatever ones work for you. We're going to do them, if you're seated, you're right now, whatever you could lie down if you wanted, but you're just going to sit down, or at night you'd consider lying down. That's the first one, settle down. Imagine like a snow globe all shaken up. Your energy is slowly settling down. So you get a little comfortable, maybe do some wiggles so that you can settle your energy down. If you're in bed, you might readjust your pillows. This is all instead of looking at your phone. And even instead of looking at the clock, we're going to try this technique first. So settle down and then bring your breath down. A lot of times we have that upper chest breath. Bring it down so that your abdomen's moving with your breath. And if you're doing this right now, you can put a hand on your abdomen, like right below your ribs or in the lower rib area, and feel that movement. Allow the abdomen to move and flow with the breath. And then slow the breath down. And with each longer exhale, we're going to imagine the body releasing down into the surface, supporting it. So with each exhale, emphasize it by making it longer and release down, physically releasing down. This one works so well for me. Sometimes this is the one I go to. It's just with each exhale, little by little, your muscles release into the position, into the support, and you release down. Last step is you're going to count down from 100. So rather than counting sheep, we're going to count breaths. So you inhale and exhale, that's 100. Next, inhale and exhale, that's 99. And you just count your natural breath. If you lose count, or you get to 1, which I never have done, then you start back over at 100. I do sometimes lose count because you start to mind wander. It's natural. Then you just start back over and you continue to try to count down. This technique really works. Whatever you remember from it, you can do it during the day too, just to settle your energy down. But I love it because you can do it in the middle of the night and not have to look at a phone or like go to something to do it.
And that was going to be my next question, because that's the thing with lack of sleep. It's because we're waking up more often, right? So love that. I'm going to try it. I'm going to send you a message for sure. And I'm on board, because that's the season of life I'm in. No problem getting to sleep. It's when you wake up, right? And then settle in again. And love that. I'll be sending you a message. You can count on it. Okay, listeners, I want to thank Anne. Wow, she taught us 2 practices today too. So wow, what a bonus on a bonus. So I so much appreciate you, Anne. I love your energy, your calmness, and I love that what you do is science-based. So for those people who are thinking this is a bunch of woo-hoo or woo-woo, I should say, it isn't, guys. It's science. So let that go and be sure to connect with Anne. I'm going to provide that link for you all to get to her website so that you can learn more about the practices. You will have some free tools there. And of course, you can get her book too, right? Through your website, which is amazing. So thank you so much for having me. You've been a wonderful, peaceful, calming guest for my listeners. Especially with that last practice, I'm just feeling super chill. So if I'm feeling chill now, I can't even imagine how much it's going to help when I'm actually in bed and counting down and counting my breaths. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wendy. It's been a pleasure joining you and teaching about meditation for the real world.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anne. And peace and stay safe, everyone. And until next week, thank you for joining us on the Living Life with Wendy podcast. And thank you, Anne. Hey, friends, be sure to subscribe to the Living Life with Wendy podcast. And you can also follow me on my other social platforms. I can be found on the World Wide Web at www.wendybowman.com, on Instagram as Coach Wendy Bowman, on Facebook at Resolve Coaching and Consulting, and finally on YouTube as Wendy Easton Bowman. I want to thank you again for joining me on Living Life with Wendy. Now go out there and live your best life.